I'm Nikki Baker, and I want to talk to you today about what I'm calling the new normal. The new normal.
The new normal.
The year 2020 was for many a year of confusion, anxiety, in some cases loss, but in some other cases it was also a year of great victory. The new normal. We used to plan like this in big planning books, writing notes, scratching things out, starting over again, and now we've got computers everywhere. Our phones, our laptops, our desktops, our iPads, our tablets. What I can say is they allowed us to begin to learn a whole new literacy. I'm sure it could also be considered a year challenge. As people all over the globe find themselves isolated, many of us were forced to take inventory. And we found that we had a lot of deficiencies. COVID has given us a run for our money. Many of us were challenged to communicate virtually. Many of us were challenged. I want to give a quote to one of my favorite people, Mike Tyson, who says, "Everybody got a plan till it get punched in the mouth." And I dare say, COVID is punching and punching and punching us in the mouth. Who knows what our plans will be for 5 years from now? That doesn't mean don't have a plan. A bad plan is better than no plan. We got to toughen up. We have to find ways to move forward.
The new normal.
So, speaking of the new normal, let's jump in and look at some of the things that are going to be really important for us to plan to have the best virtual conference and online meetings and programs. One of the first things you want to do while planning is make sure that your Zoom account settings are ready for what you are planning in your video conference program. So here we're taking a look at our Zoom account, and as you can see, I am pointing out in the left-hand column down beneath Admin, Account Management. Under Account Management, below, if you see the drop-down menu, there is an area called Account Settings. Your account settings will allow you to enable functions that you will need to use during your video conference. So here I'm just kind of scrolling down. Some of the things that I want to show you are far down into the middle of the page, and I want to recommend that at some point you go through and learn a few of them. Here I'm showing how to allow or disable co-host functions, quiz, how to allow a quiz or poll, how to enable meeting surveys, and also down at the bottom you can see screen sharing. As I said, this will be something, if you will be doing this yourself, you will just need to do it a few times to get familiar with all of the settings that are here. They are quite numerous, to say the least. So here, let's look at scheduling a meeting, and we are still showing this in Zoom. To schedule a meeting, you open your account and you're going to go to meetings in the left column. Here I'm showing if we wanted to edit a meeting that was already created, you see our meet and greet there, I can edit. But let's say we want a new meeting. We're going to click schedule a meeting. Here, once we click that, we have some options that we're going to complete. So one, the topic will be the name that you would like your meeting to be called or program to be called. And it's a good idea to name it as specifically as possible so your attendees can recognize it amongst other meetings that they may have going on. I would even go further to include a detailed description as much as possible. Sometimes in my description, I will even add an agenda there or attire, as you see here. But any specifics that you think that people need to know very early on, and it's right there in their invitation. So also very important to setting the meeting is the date of the meeting, and you do want to consider your date based on what guests you will have in attendance. So, are your guests visiting from various time zones? Are they different age groups? Are there children who might be busy on a Saturday, or adults that work on weekdays? So, that hopefully will help you define and plan for the best time to have your virtual meeting or program. You also want to think about the duration of time, which here for this meeting is set for 1 hour. If you know that you want it more, oftentimes we will set the duration to an earlier time to allow for guests to come in early. Guests can come in early without setting the earlier time, but you will need to be able to let them know. If you have a free account, your duration minute meeting can only be 45 minutes. If you need more time than that, you may need to upgrade to a more advanced account type. You will decide, is it a reoccurring meeting? And I suggest just going through these options to make sure that you have everything that you want. Waiting room, do you want participants to be able to join at any time, or do you want to control the time they are able to come in? Do you want your meeting automatically recorded? And I want you to note where it says on the local computer or in the cloud. That's important as to where the recording will be saved. After you have that created, you then can save your invitation to a calendar. So if you have Google or Gmail, Outlook, or Yahoo, you can directly save it to your organization's account, your club's account, or your personal account. Meetings are socialized, and we have to find ways to move forward.
The new normal.
Another thing we might want to do is change our profile name. Here, I'm in my club's account, which is signified by our Gmail account, which is bcbpwn.nanbpwc@gmail.com. That's pretty boring. And it doesn't specify who I am. So someone else visiting our meeting might be wondering, who is BCBPWN? You know, it's a lot. So I'm going to go here and show you how to rename. So if you go to participants and you go to your settings, next to your name, you can put rename, and I've changed my name to Broward County Club Nikki Baker. You can see here participants is also at the bottom of your screen, and you can change it there as well. Having an accurate or specific profile name may be important later, because as you can see here, you will be identified by your profile name. In this case, in one of my own club reports, we could not identify who Gary's Fire was, even though it was an actual club member. So this is how many of us identified ourselves at organizational meetings, with name tags or sign-in sheets. But now things are changing. The new normal. So every program, every meeting, every event has to end. And so what's important when we end the meeting? Well, in the old days, we would write out a report, we would send thank you cards, call people on the phone and say thank you. And a lot of that is still very important, very necessary. So what I want to show you now is how to generate reports. I want to show you how to generate your user meeting report. So you will go to user reports and check your active hosts. When you click that, you will be able to generate a details report. When you select the meeting in which you want to generate the report for, if you can see at the bottom of my screen here, it is downloaded, and this is what the meeting details report looks like. It lists the meeting ID number, the username of the account, the emails of who was on the meeting, the time the meeting started, the time the meeting ended, and the total time that each person was in the meeting. In this case, there were 9 participants in this meeting. And this is going to be helpful later when you generate and are working on your year-end report. It will also generate email addresses if the members logged in. If they called in, it would show a phone number. It will also show the time members joined and left and the total amount of time they spent in the meeting or program. This will also be helpful later when you complete your year-end reports. This would also be helpful if you're applying for grants and other activities and you would need to show the actual activity that took place during your virtual meeting. So here we're taking a look at how to generate a poll report. So we've selected meeting, and in this case we will select under usage report, we will select the poll report option. We see the meetings here that might have had polls, and we select the meeting that we're interested in finding a poll for. And here you can see on the right hand side of the screen where it says generate. When we select that option after the meeting is selected, it will generate our poll report. Here's our poll report, and I will click download. It is now downloading, and when I open the download, this is what a poll report might look like. So why is this important? As I mentioned earlier, by setting your account settings before your meeting, you will be prepared for things that will come up later. For example, if your program is scheduled to be on Zoom, when you create a flyer, you will already need to have the Zoom information. And when you create your program, it would be helpful to know if you will have a poll. This again will all be important for your year-end report and any other reporting that you will need to do. Here's an example of a Zoom participant report, a detailed report, and it will show exactly how many people participated, the names of the people, their phone numbers, their emails, the start time of the meeting, the ending time, and actually how much time each participant spent in your Zoom meeting. Okay, so to wrap up, I'm available to answer questions, but I know that there's this question that nobody may ask, but it's on someone's mind. And the question is, now why do I need to do all of this? Well, I'll tell you why. Because this is what we do.
We have to find ways to move forward for the people who are depending on us. How will we say to them that we don't want to do it anymore? We won't. We will do this together.
So I want you to find someone who can help, or I want you to be dedicated to learn these things yourself. The answer to that question? The answer is yes. Yes, we will grasp the new normal. We will grasp the new normal because the new normal is what's going on in the world. And bigger than that, the world is in our hands.